welcome to Inferential Statistics for Researchers. In this lecture, I want to discuss key terminologies used in statistical analysis. 1. Population. 2. Sample. 3. Experimental unit. 4. Variable. 5. Statistic. 6. Parameter. What is population? Population is the entire group a researcher is interested in studying. It is the entire set of possible cases that experimental unit captures in a study. So by the time we give an example, you will understand what population is. Before I give an example, let's first understand what a sample is. A sample is a subset of the population from which data are collected for research purpose. Now, this example will make it clear. Assuming a survey is carried out to estimate the proportion of all undergraduate students living at home in the first year. We are assuming that we have 3,000 undergraduate students enrolled at the campus. Let's say a random sample of 100 was surveyed because we cannot reach all these 3,000 undergraduate students. We only selected 100 students out of these 3,000. So in this example, all these 3,000 undergraduate students enrolled at the campus will be our population. Why? Because that is the entire group the researcher is interested in studying. Now, because of some constraints, we could not reach all of them, so we choose to sample just 100 undergraduate students. So these 100 undergraduate students from which we gather our data, the purpose of research is sample. In other words, we have 100 sample and the population is 3,000. So the third one, experimental units. Experimental units are the individuals or objects from which data are collected for research purpose. If we gather our data from human beings, so we call this human being participants or subjects. But if these data are gathered from animals, that is, if animals are the focus of our study, we use the term subjects, not participants. While we could use either participant or subject for human beings and animals, we use subjects for animals only. If our population is non-living things, so we use the term objects. So an experimental unit is also known as a case. For example, in this survey, each of these 100 undergraduate students forms our case. Each of these 100 undergraduate students is an experimental unit. Now, for variable. A variable is an attribute or a characteristic that can take on different values for different cases. For example, we have height, we have gender. Height is a variable, gender is a variable. Because this height and gender, they are attributes of cases. And these attributes can vary. For example, if you are carrying out a survey, the first individual we interview can be a male. The second individual can be a female. So these are different categories. So if you have height of cases, different experimental units can vary. Now, let's look at this example. We have a research objective. Assuming a teacher wants to know if undergraduate students who spend more time reading at home get higher exam grades, we can see from this research objective, the students are the cases. Amount of time spent reading at home and examination grade are the two study variables, because these are the characteristics we are interested in studying. The next terminology, data. Data are values taken by a variable. These values can vary from case to case. We are considering heights of cases. We can have an individual that is 10 years old. We can have an individual that is 13 years old. We can have an individual that is 20 years old. This value varies from case to case. So, these are our data. Data can be numerical, that is numbers, or categorical, names or label. For example, gender. Gender is a variable, but the data we have that this gender takes will be male or female. These are not numbers. They are known as categorical data. The next one is statistics. A statistic is a measure concerning a sample. Any measure that talks about sample, that tells us information about a sample, is known as a statistic. For example, we can have sample mean, we can have sample variance, we can have sample standard deviation. Then we have a parameter. A parameter is a measure concerning a population. Just like we have a statistic, we can have a parameter. The difference between a statistic and a parameter is that a statistic is a measure concerning a sample, while a parameter is a measure concerning a population. In other words, we can have population mean, that is a parameter. Population variance, that will be a parameter. Population standard deviation, that is a parameter, because it tells us information about population.